This NFL draft episode of the Stephie Smalls Show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Kalshi. Make real money predicting sports. Kalshi is available in a ton of states, and you get $10 free with promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, promo code SGPN. Let's yap.
Stephie turns balls, betting it all on the power bottom falls top drop the football. Like hopes they've been teasing, they're missing the fall season. ACL twisted, bank account freezing, but Smalls cut the shots like some more co-reading. Leaderboard rising while the slot machine's ringing. She's slinging play stats like Nostradamus. $100 bills raining down upon us.
The intro song really is a bop. Like, it really is a bop. I was just backstage, honestly, dancing to it. I hope everyone enjoyed the first day of the Masters. That got a little sweaty there with Spieth for the top 20 after round one. I think we're taking it home, but we're talking NFL today. And last year, we had on our friend Dave from Ourlads, and he is back again to talk to us. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Stephie. Great time of year. I mean, you got the Final Four, you got Masters,
right.
Baseball. The easiest time of year to bet on baseball is right now.
Yeah, right.
And then the NFL draft. I mean, this is one. And in Jersey, we're actually starting to feel some sun and some warmth.
I know. Did you see? We're gonna get ourselves I'm in New York City. We're gonna get ourselves a nice little weekend. It looks like too. And then the forecast looks beautiful going in. So we get all the sports events, and now we're getting warm weather, and we can finally get off our couches and go touch some grass for a little bit.
Especially after this winter. That was a rough winter. It was a
rough one. Oh my goodness. And it was my first. I moved back in like January. I was in the Midwest, which obviously the winters are brutal there. You see the sun here, but the wind and the snow, it was just a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. So better days ahead. And they're here right now. This is literally on the sports calendar, maybe not as good as that last week of August and September when the college and NFL starts, but this is right up there with it in just terms of excitement and joy and all smiles.
Yeah, 100%. I think what we do is we get the Giants talk out of the way so that we can all move on with the show. They're going to come up later. It's just going to happen. Talk to me about where the Giants are going into this draft. Like, what is the right pick? I think I've talked a lot about it where we're in this nice spot that there's probably a couple avenues that they can go and you're not making like the wrong pick. There's also like few things that they could do that's the wrong pick. So where are you at with the Giants picking at 5?
We're also just used to something getting screwed up at this point of the year for
trauma,
the Giants.
Guys. It's trauma, all right? Listen, like we're in a good spot. We got the coach. You got some main pieces going on. What this roster lacks is depth. We know that. But yeah, you're picking at 5. What are we doing?
I mean, it's going to be defense or offensive line. I'm actually not buying into the Jeremiyah Love hype. I think that's more media driven. And hey, we know Harbaugh loves to talk about the run game, but he also knows the run game starts and ends in the trenches. Yeah. And to me, I think that's where he's going to lean hard. I don't know if they've made their mind up yet. Is it going to be this right guard that they do have 3 guys that you don't think are long-term solutions at that spot, but they do have a lot of competition there where the floor is a little higher than it was last year. Maybe they're going to try to roll with what they have out of those 4 to 5 guys, even just for that one spot alone. And they feed into the defense. This defense was bad last year. And I think there's a lot of opportunity at that part of the draft to improve that unit.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's probably the direction they go is defense. It does make a lot of sense. I don't think that the Jeremiyah Love, you know what? I've been around like the block enough to know when like something just feels like BS, and it just feels like BS here. I also don't know that he's even going to be there at 5 for that to even be an option. So I think it's a little silly for there to be as much discussion on Jeremiyah Love. I think it's, it's not, we're going to get to draft day. He's not even going to be there. And then everyone's going to forget that we were all frantically talking about it. I think you have Scadaboo coming back. His recovery looks promising. You have, you know what I think is getting overlooked too? Tracy, when he finally got healthy last year, was like fantastic. He looked very good last year. Once, he started the season off where he was not healthy. So I think he looked better towards the end of the season. So it doesn't really, Yes, Jeremiyah Love is fantastic. We're going to talk about him. Defensively, who are you going here? It's a lot of Sonny Styles. I know he's the favorite right now for our selection there.
Yeah, Sonny Styles I think he's the betting favorite right now for the Giants at 5 overall. If I had to make a pick right now, prediction, he would still be it because there is a vacancy at that linebacker next to Tremaine Edmonds. And John Harbaugh, to me, is a coach with a defensive background that wants a true identity. And to me, you put 6'5" Sonny Styles and 6'5" Tremaine Edmonds in the middle of that defense. That's something really unique that a lot of teams don't have or don't even have to deal with on the offensive side of the ball. But my dark horse pick for the Giants right now, very few are talking about, and it's Mansoor Delane, the cornerback from LSU. Over Harbaugh's tenure, his first pick of the draft in Baltimore 6 times was a defensive back, 3 corners and 3 safeties. And he recently just picked into the quarterback pool with their first pick a couple of times in recent years. That's a spot he does not want to be weak at right now. And if you look at this Giants defensive backfield, who is the number 1 corner? I mean, is it Paulson Odebo, the guy that's not showing up to this offseason conditioning program right now? Is it Deonte Banks? No. Is it a 1-year contract given to Greg Newsome? No. Is it Andrew Phillips that got benched last year? This is a really vulnerable spot. And he's big on, let's beat the teams in our division. Look at the division. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. You have Terry McLaurin and possibly Carnell Tate in the draft coming up.
Yeah.
You have to be 1, 2, 3 deep at corner. I don't know if the Giants can say they're too deep yet. Don't sleep on corner at 5 overall for this pick.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because I was going to bring Delane up to you anyway. So we'll just move right into Delane here. Yeah. I think that I don't know where you how far you think he will. It feels like he's going a little too late in mocks that I've seen. And given I try not to absorb too much content because I feel like it kind of messes with my own analysis on things. But I do, from what I've seen, I don't know that Delane makes it out of even the top 9 here.
Yeah, I think 10 is the basement with him because I think that's where Cincinnati is, and that's where I just can't see them passing on him if he's there. And I believe that's where I'm in the same boat as you. New Orleans, that's who we gave Delane to in our latest mock at Ourlads. There's a lot of teams that are they're looking for a corner. They're hard to find. They get drafted higher than they should every year. And he was dominant. He was great in 2025. And I do think the only thing that is kind of that 1% in the back of my head, Jermod McCoy blew up his pro day workout last week. And Harbaugh, he personally loves corners that can locate the football. That's a trait that he always talks about and he wants in his corners. If I had to grade the 2 next to each other, McCoy is a little better in that regard. But I think both of them are going top 10. And Delane is the favorite to be the first one taken. But I agree with you where the basement is. But there is a little part of me that says some of these teams might say McCoy is a better corner than Delane.
That's interesting too, and I will have to look at the odds there. They don't have the draft position markets out for these guys, but I'm totally with you that I think we see both of them go at least in the top 12, and I don't think that there's a scenario where we don't see that. I will bring up to you, is there any world that we see the Commanders draft Delane or a cornerback here? Lattimore and Jonathan Jones gone. They brought in Robertson, I believe, kind of to aid in the inside, but they don't have a shutdown corner either. And they also play in the NFC East. And you're going up against Malik Neighbors and CeeDee Lamb and maybe A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. It's not the easiest division to be in, and you need a corner. You need a shutdown corner in the NFC East here. And I feel like the Commanders, for a while, they just continuously kind of just brush past this position, almost in the way that we do, to be completely honest. We're very similar in that regard as far as the secondary goes. But do you think there's any world that he goes? I like the fit to the Saints. I will definitely be placing some money on that. But do you think there's any world that the Commanders are okay, our defense stinks and we lost some guys, and do we draft him here?
Yeah, look at who their head coach is, Dan Quinn. I mean, that guy, he made a name for himself in Dallas. He reinvented himself in Dallas as the coordinator. Why? Because they were leading the league in interceptions and turnovers in general. Their turnover differential was historic for 2 straight years. under Dan Quinn. And you can't be a turnover-heavy team without guys that can make plays on the ball on the outside. Our last pick, our latest mock, we gave Caleb Downs to Washington.
Okay.
But a corner actually does in some ways make more sense because Washington does have talent in the middle of their secondary, but they're vulnerable on the outside. They're also vulnerable along the defensive line, pass rush. And that's what a lot of coaches, they value that to create turnovers. The cornerbacks are the ones that finish it off. But it's not out of this world at all. I would say they're going to pick a pass rusher or defensive back with that first pick. Very confident in their outside shot. They go wide receiver.
All right. Cornerbacks drafted in the first round. The line is set at 4.5. The over is plus 250. Under is minus 310. Any thoughts here on this line?
And you said corner, right? Not quarter.
Yeah.
Man, because that would be the easiest bet of the lifetime if you said
we'll get to that. Don't you worry.
The cornerback market, it's going to be a quick one too, but I think you might go 12 picks, 13 picks even without seeing another one. So you're going to be biting your nails. Right now, I think the end of the first round, there's a handful of teams that if they had it their way, they would pick a corner. So I think when you're getting down into the 20s, the teams like Carolina could even start it off at 19, but Cleveland, Buffalo, San Francisco, Houston, Kansas City. I mean, you have Miami even, who we just gave Colton Hood to, Seattle at 32. I think the number is going to go over. I think people are over guessing wide receiver in the first round and under guessing cornerback. I think that number is going to hit over for the corners in the first round.
Yeah, where is that almost like forcing the wide receivers in mock stats? It feels a little forced to me.
It is
like almost that they want like they're trying to just check a box off. Like it doesn't feel like that we're going to see as many or the run's going to be as early as I'm seeing in some of these. Like, where is that coming from? And how many wide receivers do you think we're going to see in this first round?
It's tricky. And I think what's common, this is to take a step back, this first round in this year's draft class, it's on the quote weak side. They're good players, but it's a weak top of draft. You don't have a lot of premium left tackles. You don't have the quarterbacks. You don't have a lot of wide receivers that are top 10 caliber. So to me, it's just a very unique draft class. So that's why I think when people project in the media, especially, they know the wide receivers. It's kind of like they make the highlight reels. There's more stories written about them. They're easier to see. But the NFL, to me, there's a shortage in offensive line talent. If there's a position that's going to get overdrafted in the first round, it's going to push the wide receivers out into day 2. It's tackle/guard, maybe even center. But that's the position where I think it's going to be really heavy in the first round. Maybe even 9 guys drafted along the offensive line in the first round. Then you have a lot of pass rushers as well. Between those 2 spots, that's half the first round right there.
Right.
So wide receivers, I think you're looking at 4 to 5, but I don't see more than 5. I've seen a couple guys saying there's going to be 6 or 7. I don't see it because I don't see them leapfrogging.
Now you're pushing your luck. Yeah, I don't know about the whole 7 there. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to get into some Jeremiyah Love. Before we do that, Kalshi is a real money prediction market, legal in a ton of states. Kalshi has a ton of trading options for your favorite sports. New Kalshi customers get $10 when they use promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, KALSHI, promo code SGPN. Underdog has you covered for pick'em for almost every sport. Underdog has just increased their payouts. 2 pick entries now pay 3.5x, and 3 pick entries now pay 6.5x. I'm going to post a pick'em entry that I like for round 2 of the Masters. Once Underdog gets some stuff up on the app, Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Pay just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with code SGPN. I see Cowboys fan bringing up trades. Do you think in this type of class, given that it's like, I feel like the word weaker is is not as flashy is all.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to say weaker because I think it's a knock to the players and all the hard work that they have done throughout their career. But do you think we see a lot of trades in this?
At first I said no, because there's just not that much talent. But now that I'm thinking about it, you run out of pure, like we grade players at Ourlads as like first rounders, second rounders. And there's less first rounders in this class than there have been in recent years by a pretty wide margin. So I think you're going to see teams that are in the teens, right, looking to move up because they don't want that the board runs dry pretty quickly. You're going to see the teams in the 20s to really move up 5 to 10 spots because they're not going to project that first round talent to truly be there. The question is this, though. Next year's draft class, I know we have to be a little careful with this, but it looks like it's going to be a lot more stacked, a lot more talented. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, the quarterbacks, Arch Manning, Dante Moore. That's going to be a much stronger class. I don't know how willing teams are going to be to trade future draft picks. And I think that might cause a little bit of hesitation in teams that are trying to trade down. But to answer the question, I do think we're just going to see a slightly above average rate of trades, but it's going to be after the top 4 to 5 picks because, hey, oh my gosh, two of these edge rushers are off the board. We only have one left. We got to make a move up. Hey, Delane just came off the board. We got to go get McCoy. Hey, 2 of these receivers came off the board. There's only one left. We got to go up and get him. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a delay.
Sure, absolutely. And I think we'll see a lot of just echoing what you said a little bit. I don't think we're going to see a lot of like future picks going out the window. I think you're going to see a lot of like pick swaps and whatever going on in this draft because I don't think they're going to be as willing to give up those picks kind of like we saw. I mean, even like the first round last year was, you saw a lot of that going on. Let's talk Jeremiyah Love. Right. Right now the Titans are the favorite at plus 140. Do you think he is going to the Titans? Everyone's convinced that it's the Titans. Even like the under on his draft position of 4.5 is actually plus 145. So again, like a little counterintuitive. Is he going at 4?
Oh man, this is a really tough call. And I spend way too much time thinking about this.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's going to go number 4 overall. I'm not as positive as some people are that he will be top 5. For example, when the Chiefs signed Kenneth Walker at running back and the Commanders brought back some of their running backs and they kind of filled up that room, it was a sign that Jeremiyah Love is not going to make it to them in the NFL draft. And some of these teams do know. I am convinced some of these teams do actually know who's coming off the board through contacts and relationships with agents.
Yeah, of course.
So that part of the market says, yeah, he's going to be going top 4, and I still think he's in the discussion at number 5 overall. I just don't think that's going to be end up being the pick. The Commanders they stand out to me a little bit at 7 overall, but I think they're really happy with what they got in the 7th round last year in Krosky Merritt. That he can be a part of a committee type approach. The Titans, Brian Daboll, the success he did have in New York was with Saquon Barkley. Yeah. And they've spent so many resources in Tennessee this offseason on the defensive side of the ball for a new head coach, Robert Saleh. You can't do everything on the defensive side of the ball when you have a second-year quarterback. Look at the template of Chicago and New England last year, 2 teams that really turned it around in year 2. It was all about supporting the quarterback. So because they put all these resources into the defensive side of the ball so far, this premium resource at 4 overall, it makes all the sense in the world to bring Jeremiyah Love in. So that is why I think he is going to go there, but I'm not as convinced as some others. I could see him taking a draft weekend fall.
Interesting. So because my follow-up question was going to be, like, do we think there's any way that the Cardinals go a little chaotic and just say, let's take him? Because I think that's the prime spot. I've been saying it nonstop. I hate to belabor it because everyone's listening is like, we get it. You think they're going to trade out, which I do think that they are a prime candidate to trade out. Yeah. But like, I don't know that there's not a world where this team falls in love with Jeremiyah Love and just takes him there.
Yeah, it's funny. The head coach LaFleur, he comes from a newer age of thinking, right? He's a younger, more modern coach. And if he buys into modern football, they don't value running backs. I personally don't agree with it. I think that's always been a silly statement and a silly way to look at the game. But if he is in that camp, right, he comes from that Rams system where, yes, they had good running backs, but I think Kyron Williams was a 5th or 6th round pick. Blake Corum, a 3rd round pick. They drafted another kid in the Auburn day 2. Sure. Wasn't premium resources spent on that pick. They did sign Tyler Algier. He's not a guy that's going to prevent you from drafting a superstar, but they are 3 deep at running back with guys they do like James Conner, Trey Benson, and now Tyler Algier. I don't see it. I don't see the fit in Arizona. Arizona's actually, I think in their perfect world, there was a true blue goose offensive lineman. There's not. So if they
I
pick
know,
someone,
and that's what stinks for them, because really what they're doing is they're already looking ahead to the following season. They're not looking at this season. They've made that abundantly clear. While they have very nice pieces on their roster, like there is things I very much like about that Arizona roster. There's a lot that I don't like also. And I think they're prepping for finding who their franchise quarterback is hopefully going to be. Obviously, they'd want to address O-line, but I don't know that that's going to be the opportunity there for them at 3, which also makes them a prime candidate to get the heck out of there.
Yep. Yeah, trading down is definitely an option. I think the fallback was, hey, you can never go wrong getting another pass rusher. So I think they're likely to stay put. If they stay put, they're likely to draft a pass rusher. I do think the move will be to trade up. Their perfect world, David Bailey is likely going to go 2 overall. There's going to be a team out there that doesn't want to miss out on an Arvell Reese. And hopefully they find a team that wants to move up for him. I don't know if anyone's going to move up for Ruben Bain. Again, new age of thinking, the short arms, people overanalyze it, but hey, it's a thing.
You could probably see Bain fall too. That could easily be one of the guys that we do kind of see slip a little bit. And I don't think he'll slip super far, but like, does he get down to like Commanders type area? Like very much so. I could see that. Absolutely. Every year this happens where, you know, we do see a quarterback not come out of nowhere, but just like the media starts to fall in love with him. There's always someone being contrarian. Obviously this year that is Ty Simpson. Where are you at with Ty Simpson here? Right now, the odds tell me that he's definitely going in the first round. His draft position line is set at 24.5. Where are you at with Ty Simpson? His ceiling, is there a good fit for him?
It's a great question too. I don't think he's a first round caliber quarterback. That doesn't mean they don't go in the first round.
Sure.
It's funny that the name that I have on my scouting notes, and I put it in my report as well, from multiple angles, it was Daniel Jones. And he was another guy that I had a day 2 grade on him. He ended up going 6th overall, a lot higher than many people thought. It didn't quite work out, but hey, he is an NFL quarterback. And if things are around him are great, I think he can make it work. But there's something that goes against him. And he started 15 games in college. And over the last 10 years, guys that start 16 or less games in the NFL, it's not a pretty list. Let me just tell you, it's only, other than Cam Newton, it just does not work. Yeah. So this is a guy, half of his tape was great, half of his tape was bad in his 1 year as a starter. And to me, it's not Jackson Dart from last year. It's not a guy that someone's going to trade up for in the 20s. Jackson Dart started 40-plus games in college. You knew exactly what he was. Ty Simpson is a very big unknown. He's an enormous risk. And you're looking into the future and seeing a much stronger quarterback class that I think teams that are quarterback hungry, I think they're going to wait until day 2 on Ty Simpson.
Yeah. Do they even, if he makes it past day 2, is this a scenario where we see him kind of start to slip a little bit more? And does he go more like a 4th or 5th round?
No, but that slip that we saw Shedeur Sanders do last year, in my opinion, that had more to do with character and just being a distraction. Sure. And part of when you draft a quarterback that's a backup is you want them to be an asset in the quarterback room that can help with game planning. It's like an extra coach. And Ty Simpson is the son of a longtime and current college coach. I mean, he's going to offer all that intellect. We saw Tyler Shuck come off in the 40s last year. I think that's about where we see him come off the board in a couple weeks.
Is that a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is that a team like where are you looking? Because I did notice actually right before we jumped on, and I forgot to write it down for myself, but I did a draft show on the 2nd, so a week ago, and his odds have actually started to move in, not by much, but in favor to the Steelers here. So I don't know if that's some money coming in, what the deal is, but it's still plus 850. You shop that around, but it did move a little bit since I did that show.
Yeah, Pittsburgh makes all the sense in the world to me. But what we always say about these Aaron Rodgers teams is like, hey, if you're going into the season with Aaron Rodgers, you're trying to do it this year. So you might rather use the pick. I mean, Pittsburgh had a shot at Jackson Dart last year, but they wanted a guy that could help them for that year because this is Aaron Rodgers' last shot. All your chips are in the middle of the table. You're now passing on an asset that can help that team in 2026.
Sure.
And hey, new regime there. But to me, I think I'm actually looking at a spot that has a free agent quarterback next year that no one's talking about, and it's Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. They are picking 46th overall. And that's a spot I like Ty Simpson because he's not seeing the field in 26 unless things go real bad. There's no pressure. There's no one in the fans booing Baker Mayfield off the field. But I'm not convinced Baker's the long-term option there as much as he's turned things around. There are things in Atlanta, even with Tua and Michael Penix. I don't think they know what they're doing there. Indianapolis, are you really convinced Daniel Jones is the long-term answer? All those teams are picking in the 40s, and I think that we're going to hear his name called somewhere in there unless someone could even trade into that area as well.
Interesting. And right now, Tampa, you can get 20-1 for them to draft Mr. Ty Simpson. So
I like
maybe
that.
something to take a look at there. I like what you're on to here. I don't think that this team takes Ty Simpson because I don't think that they will use a pick where they're drafting from, but I do think the Rams are very live to take a quarterback at some point during this draft. This happened to me Rattler's year where I live bet him to the Saints. I will be heavily paying attention to the Rams and quarterbacks and what those odds look like because I do think that they are live to take a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Because I heard that there's a little like trouble in paradise with Jimmy G too. Like I think he's like not responding. I don't know, like ghosting the Rams. There's some nonsense going on. I got a couple birdies in my DMs, but I do think they'll take a quarterback.
I do too. I mean, it's Stetson Bennett is the only quarterback right now beyond Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And, they're all in on Stafford right now, but you got to think long term at that position. You always want to you don't want to ever shop hungry at quarterback.
Yeah. I think I want to have a conversation about Sadiq here. The Eagles are the favorite, and it feels very much like kind of how everyone was just like plopping Love into the commander spot when the mocks like started coming out, and now he's just kind of getting clicked and put to the Eagles there. I don't think we have a good read on where he is going. Where do you have him going? Is there thoughts on a spot other than this Eagles spot that makes sense? I think we know very well from fans of a team that took likely away from the Ravens. The Ravens obviously stand out a little bit here. They're plus 800. Where are you at with him?
The Ravens are where we put Sadiq in our latest mock draft. And it is kind of like an easy way out because they lost likely. I don't know if Mark Andrews is a true long-term answer. And to me, he does a lot more than play. He is an Isaiah Likely on steroids. He looks that way, but he also he plays that way. He's a big, physical, thick dude, and he's got elite athletic ability. He's actually an upgrade, in my opinion, over what Likely brought to the Ravens. And I think that's where you start having a real serious conversation. But I believe there are a couple potential surprise teams for Sadiq, and one of them could be Kansas City at 9 overall. We know Kelsey is probably on his last year. They love 12 personnel. They love multiple tight ends. So it's not, hey, we don't believe in Kelsey anymore. But we know he's on a pitch count. He was on pitch count last year. They don't keep him in all game. They get, he's not used as much as he was in the past. And to me, Sadiq is a guy that's very different than Kelsey. He can get his hands dirty. He can block. I mean, he's a very underrated blocker. I think they actually complement each other exceptionally well. The Chiefs are going to add a weapon at some point in this draft. I am very confident in that. It's not just going to be filling the cornerback and the edge rusher position. They're going to add a weapon. Don't sleep on Sadiq at 9. And I'm actually more confident in him going to Baltimore than Philadelphia, to be honest.
Sure. I'm with you there. And I think too, the Chiefs, I'll let everyone in on something because I've already placed the bet. So you guys can go hammer it and do whatever and mess the lineup on your own. If you like him to go to the Chiefs, 10-1 for their first position drafted to be a tight end.
Okay.
So I do like that. I think that the Panthers, you have to take a look at there at 19. I think it's an interesting spot for Bryce Young to get another weapon. Their tight end room is nothing to really write home about. So I think that actually is a position that team is very much lacking. We saw that, that how impressive that defense could be towards the end of the season. And I think if you give Bryce maybe one more weapon, you might be cooking with a little gas there in Carolina.
Yeah, I like that. I like Carolina because they have a couple of like almost Sadiq JV types where they're slot, they're F tight ends, they move around, they're in motion, but they're like Jatavion Sanders, really good prospect from Texas a couple years ago, but he is a very scaled back version. And to me, one of my philosophies is, hey, if I don't have a guy that I'm going to plan around, I'm not going to make a draft decision based on that guy, especially if it's a special talent like Sadiq.
Sure. Before I get some sleepers from you, because you were so helpful last year, Rhythm is your official data tool for dominating NBA, MLB, and golf. Let Rhythm's models help you cash in or build your own to dominate the books. Looking to go premium, use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off your first month. Download Rhythm and use promo code SGPN25. We're also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's one sports prediction market. Novig, you're getting the best prices. Download the Novig app and get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN and get on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. Also, if you're listening to the pod and you're not subscribed yet, do that. Hit like, reply, let us know one of your favorite bets for the NFL draft. Talk to me here. You were a lot of the reason why I ended up placing the bet of Cam Scadaboo, exact team drafted to be the New York Giants last year. Where are we at? And not that he was really a sleeper, but you gave us some good information. Where are we at, like, sleeper wise? I know the people want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the wide receiver class where everyone's talking about these top three guys, Lemon, Tyson, Tate, prospects that I like as well. But then you're hearing all this talk about Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M and Deion Burks from Oklahoma and Denzel Boston from Washington. Nobody is talking about a guy that I think is one of the top 5 receivers in this class. I think last year, Scadaboo, I had him as the number 4 back in the class. I think he was the 8th one taken. Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, 6'1", 206. Chris Godwin is all over his tape. And just in terms of how he plays, how he moves, how he catches the football, his career drop rate is minuscule. He does not drop the ball. You can go through all this tape. You're going to have a hard time finding an actual credible drop. But what makes me excited about him at that size is what he can do after the catch. He created 28 missed tackles over the past 2 years. Only 4 guys in this entire class had more. 2 of them played at the lower level of college football. He's not an outside guy. He's not a slot. They even put him in the backfield sometimes. He's a gadget guy. Sometimes you hear gadget, you hear Wan'Dale Robinson. The guy's 5'8", 172 pounds. This dude's over 205.
Right.
Okay, so why else wouldn't you like this guy? Oh, Dave, he doesn't play that fast. He's not a downfield threat. He ran a 4.48 at the combine. Okay, you don't want to get attached to 40 times? How about this? He ran a 6.71 3-cone. Among receivers that are 205 plus pounds, that is all-time great. So this guy has athleticism. He has strength. He has thickness. He's big physical dude, and he blocks his butt off. Not that you're going to ever draft this guy for your fantasy team because he's a good blocker, but I think teams are going to want him. The Rams, the Niners, teams that value yard after catch. They make you block like a tight end, and those are offenses that you want to be a part of. And Jeremy Bernard is a guy that I think we're going to hear a lot of. You might see a lot of guys get drafted before him. They're a little flashier, but this dude's a real football player, and he impacts the game in a lot of ways.
Absolutely love it. Any running backs after Love that intrigue you before I let you get out of here?
Yeah, so there's a kid that reminds me of James Cook. Okay. And when James Cook came out of Georgia, I was all about him. And everyone's like, he's 200 pounds or he's under 200 pounds. Like, that's not a number you want to work with at running back in the NFL. And I get it. But when you move like you're moving on ice skates, like you don't even look like you're running on grass. Like, it looks like you're just gliding and sliding. It stands out. And then you run behind your pads, meaning you're tough. You're not going to run guys over, but you're not soft. Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest. Okay. That's the comparison I have. He's a day 3 pick. He weighed in at under 190 pounds. That is a little bit of a scary number, but he had 20 plus runs of 10 plus yards, 3 straight years at Wake Forest. We're not talking about a team with a dominant offensive line. He was doing this by himself. 50 catches the past 2 years. He tries hard as a blocker. These guys, he's going to get on the field. He's not going to be a feature back, but he's going to be a big play threat at the next level. The last running back I'll give you is actually Cam Scadaboo-esque in terms of his profile, the way he runs. Yeah. Rashul Faison from South Carolina. Okay. He is going to be a 26-year-old rookie that is going to draw him, but actually it's just going to make him an easier guy to get later in your drafts. Very underrated burst.
Cool.
He proved it in workouts, just like last year. Cam Scadaboo didn't run a good 40, don't care at all. He dominated the jumps. He dominated the broad jump. This kid had a 4.26 shuttle at his pro day. That would have been the fastest of every single back at the combine. He had the second most missed tackles per rushing attempt to who? Jeremiyah Love. Why do we like Cam Scadaboo? He rips through arm tackles. He breaks tackles. He stays on his feet. That's what this kid does as well.
That's fantastic. Let everyone know where they can find your work. I know the guide. You have an Ourlads draft guide that's fantastic. Where are you at?
Yeah,
there we go.
They're out. The PDF, if you guys like PDF, I'm an old school guy. I like flipping through a book still. I know I'm kind of weird. But you can order it at ourlads.com, PDF or hard copy. If you order the hard copy, it might take about a week to get there. PDF, you'll have it in your inbox right away. On X, I'm ourlads_Cy. You can sign up for a free newsletter. It goes out twice a week, ourlads.com. It's right at the top of the website. Pretty active on X. I'll be very active draft weekend, both from a fantasy perspective, but also just a football perspective.
Fantastic stuff. You are fantastic as always. I'm so glad we were able to get you on and pick your brain before the draft. Be sure to hit like. Be sure to go to speakpipe.com/Stephie Smalls. Leave me some questions for Ask Smalls Anything. And I will see you guys on Tuesday.
Stephie Smalls Show, sports gambling. Play some bets on winners and catastrophe. If you want to know where to put the money, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday is the place to be.